Kate Walker. It is August the, goodness sakes, August the 19th, and I'm going to put my glasses on. Welcome to the Thursday 30. If you're brand new here, the reason we do this is to give you free stuff. It's to help you stay in business. This is your fault. You wanted to get into this. You are too important to lose to things like going broke, giving up, not having the right paperwork, not having mentoring, not having the things you do to be in business, stay in business, and do the job that you love. Now, I'm so excited about this because we are in week 9 of our 10-week practice challenge. And those of you who have been participating with us every single week, you will be in the running to win one of our many practice grants totaling $1,000. So here's the deal. I'm giving away one $500 practice grant, and I'm giving away several smaller grants totaling $1,000. Here's the catch. You cannot be in the running for one of the grants if you haven't participated each and every week. See, summertime is the time for many of us in private practice when our businesses get a little slow and it's time to get our shit together, right? It's time to take that sabbatical, spend some time, really take your business apart, deconstruct, reconstruct, and try to make things work. So when I can't think of a great metaphor, when it gets busy again in September, around the time of the first report card for those of you who see adolescents and kiddos, and before the holidays for those of us who see families and couples, you will be ready to go. You need to make sure that you're ready for all the phone calls. You need to make sure that you can connect quickly with those folks who want to see you. So that's what the 10-week challenge is all about. If you participated in the challenge all 10 weeks, we won't let you go away empty-handed, but we will have a drawing for the one $500 practice grant. Think of all the things you could use that for, and the smaller grants so that you can get your practice up to badass. And speaking of that, we've got 13 new badasses joining the group this week, and they are Lori Dunaway. Hey, Lori. Alicia Thomas, Felicia Powell-Williams, Jeannie Zadek Odom, Christy Kwan, Jordan Murphy, Mark Hall, Sunshine Play Therapy and Counseling, Heather Tilbury, Megan Ashley Davenport, Callie Gettinger, Lorena Torres, and Kim Fry. Welcome, badasses. We're going to help you get your businesses up to badass. Now let's get to work. So week 8, we are in week 8, and it's a private practice primer. I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes answering questions from my inbox. If you're watching me live today, I'm going to answer your questions in the thread. I can see your thread over here. If you have questions, I know counselors tend to be a little bit shy, so I do have questions for my inbox. People like to PM me. I'm going to be honest, I'm terrible at answering and responding to private messages through Facebook. So you can always send me an email to kwtrainingit@gmail.com. and we will try to get you hooked up. Hey, Jeanette, thanks for joining us. Jennifer, gosh, I really should wear my glasses when I'm trying to call out names. Hey, Jennifer Griffith, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. So week 8, private practice primer. Week 9 is going to be insurance, telehealth, and cash payments. Oh my. So I'm going to dive deep into how we get money, receive money, get paid from our clients next week. This week, it's about the nuts and bolts, constructing the private practice, making sure you have systems in place. What systems do you need? What do you need to watch out for? What things do you need to make sure that you do? And then my favorite week, week 10, you're going to see interviews with 5 experts in the field of counseling. And I've got some heavy hitters, y'all. I've got Ernesto Segismundo. I've got Elisa Boquin. I have Dr. Shayna Lewis. I have Kelly Higdon from Zenny, the amazing experts to help you get yourself into private practice, because I'm not a practice coach. I don't have a big business that helps folks over time develop their practice. I do this. I do Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses. I throw free stuff at you. If you've been into our files and you've been able to look at all the paperwork that we've loaded, I think we're going to load some more eventually. that's what I do. I also do the 40-hour training when you're ready to become a supervisor and pay it forward and start growing the next generation of licensed professional counselors, licensed marriage and family therapists, social workers, and psychologists. When you're ready to start doing that, I'm your girl. I've got your 40-hour training to become a supervisor in Texas. If you are thinking ahead, like I always do, in the fall, I'm going to be talking to graduate students and supervisees and supervisors. What makes a good supervisee? What makes a great supervisor? How do you get a good supervisor? How do you interview supervisees that will be compatible? Can you have a supervisor in El Paso if you live in Fort Worth? I'm going to be focused all on that, how to make sure you're navigating, graduating, to taking the NCE, to getting an amazing supervisor, to becoming an amazing practitioner. So if you are a supervisor or thinking about becoming a supervisor, put your ears to the ground for what we have coming up in September and October, heading into November for the TCA Professional Growth Conference, which hopefully will be in person. If it is, I hope to see you guys there. All right, so let's hit some of these questions. So one question is from a newbie, and this regards the small town rule. So when you have a private practice in a small town, the issue is dual relationships. She says, I'm working on a project and it appears that dual relationships are not forbidden according to ACA code. However, in the Texas code, LPC, LMFT, BHEC, it appears that they are forbidden. So how does this work in small towns? So when you start a private practice in a small town, what you have to remember is it's gonna suck a little bit because you can't avoid dual relationships. It's so hard to mitigate that. If you're in a small town and you run into your clients at church, if you run into them at Meet the Parent night or at a basketball game, it's really tricky to try to have a practice in a small town. But you know, if you're into the Badass Business Group, that's kind of what we preach. We're here to help you fill the gaps in mental health access in rural Texas. And so there is a way to do that, but you have to remember we follow the law first. That's state and federal law, which says 0 dual relationships are allowed. And so with the ACA Code of Ethics saying, yeah, you can mitigate those, remember, we follow the law first. So speaking of law, one of the questions I get, do I need a license to have a business? So the way this is framed in my email is, does Texas make you have a license for business, right? And the answer is Texas loves business. It would never put anything in between you and your dream of owning a business. So the answer is no, you do not need to have a license to do business. So if you want to open a bookstore, you don't have to have a business license. If you want to open a candy store, you don't have to have a business license. So where this gets confusing though is the idea of, do I have to have an LLC or a PLLC? And the answer is maybe. Right? So if you think about to start your lemonade stand, if you wanted to put a lemonade stand right there on the corner, you can do it. Nobody's going to stop you. But what are you going to do with the money? Because your lemonade is going to be incredible. So when you take the money, when you have the money and you want to put it in your pocket or put it into a bank, you'll need to have a business bank account. Now, a lot of folks don't even have that, but in order to have a business bank account, you've got to have a separate entity. There are a couple of ways of creating that. You can create a DBA, doing business as, and that costs you about $10 at your county clerk's office. You go in there, you fill out a form, you tell them the name of your business, and then you can go to the bank, hand them the DBA. They will open an account in your business name. You don't even have to do that. You can literally just take the money, put it in the bank. The key is paying taxes at the end of the year, right? When you make over, let's say $12,000, because your lemonade is amazing, you may owe some taxes. So you're going to want to keep track of those business expenses. So one of the first steps in a private practice primer is understanding that you will have to separate your business money from your personal money in order to pay taxes. So that's the money piece, because at the end of the year, you want to make it super simple to identify the money that is subject to taxes, okay? Now, when you think about an LLC or a PLLC, I want you to think of a wall between your lemonade stand and your house, right? Because if you're going to put your lemonade stand on the street, cars are out there, right? And you never know. Maybe a car is going to, like when you're not in the lemonade stand, right? When you're not there, the car might smash into your lemonade stand and it's headed for your house, but the wall prevents the car from hitting your house, okay? That's what an LLC does, a limited liability corporation. Liability is in the name. It protects your home, your assets, your car. Now in Texas, those things, or at least your home, is generally protected anyway. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV, so you can ask Badass Blaine Hummel more information about this because he does CEs about it all the time. But your LLC is designed to protect your stuff from bad stuff that can happen to your business. So in Texas, if you have a license, I'm going to use that word again, if you're a license holder, like a licensed professional counselor or a licensed psychologist, licensed social work, licensed marriage and family therapist, they want you to open a P, a professional LLC. At the end of the day, the LLC most often is considered something we call a disregarded entity. So when you pay your taxes, it's going to all get included in your family taxes. So I'm not going to get into money too much today, but so let's review, right? Step one, Texas loves it when you do business. They are not going to stop you from doing business. You can open up your practice tomorrow. When you get paid, though, you're going to want to keep that money separate. So using a separate name, filing it with the county clerk as a DBA for about $10, that will allow you to open a second bank account under the business name to help you stay organized. So let's move into systems. It's so important as a business owner for a private practice, you have reliable systems because you're not just doing a lemonade stand. You are protecting health information, sensitive information that you don't own. Your client owns their information. They have a right to be protected. We have federal law, state law, all the laws that say if a client is going to entrust you with any protected health information, and you can Google that. There are tons of things that fall under that, everything from names and addresses to credit card numbers and identifying information if you happen to work with celebrities. That information that can identify your client is considered protected. So you have an obligation to have systems in place. Now, one that I use, super cool, because I just got billed yesterday and I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forget that's out there. It's called Sukasa. It's a simple folder that protects my client files and it stays separate from the rest of my doing business files, marketing, all the other things. So Sukasa is almost like if you imagine your file drawer, you've got that one drawer in the middle that's lead and it's got a combination lock and nobody has a key to it but you. Best of all, Sukasa will sign something called a BAA, a Business Associate Agreement, which means they will take on the liability if something goes wrong. HIPAA loves a BAA. So when you're thinking about systems, you're going to think about file storage. You're going to think about how you communicate with your clients, and you're going to think about how you schedule your clients. Now, of course, there are other things, especially in the age of telehealth. We're going to want to make sure we have HIPAA compliant telemedicine software, right? So that information that's going between you and your client through the ether, like some kind of Willy Wonka thing, right? That has to be protected as well. So the systems for your private practice, even as a beginner, right? Even if you don't have your private practice or you're in the running for our private practice grant and you're thinking, oh crap, what am I going to use this money for? Think file storage. If you're a standalone one-person practice, something like Sukasa is wonderful. It's very, very cheap, works with Dropbox, works with Google Drive. Scheduling software. Again, if you're a small practice and you're not ready to do something like all of the robust software, and you can go back and scroll through and you can see there are tons of things out there for therapists who are by themselves in private practice. I like something simple, so I use Full Slate. It's great software, and they, number 3, will sign a business associate agreement with me. For my telehealth, I use something called Doxy.me. Again, they will sign the BAA with me. And once you do that, now you can take that information and put it in your service agreement. So if you go back to last week where we had all the paperwork in week 7, you'll see in my service agreement, it talks about how to access the information about how I secure their files through Sukasa. You can click it. Well, of course, it's a piece of paper. You can't click it, but they could absolutely type it in their browser and go and see how their information is protected. All right, so let's review. We have how to set up your business. Texas loves business. They don't want to stand in your way. We have systems to protect client health information. Now let's talk about scheduling, because one of the things I told you that I would leave you with today is one thing you can change to do business better today, okay? Now, your experts in week 10, I have heard the interviews, and I'm not going to steal their thunder because they have some amazing tips that you can do today to do better in business. But I want to put into your mind this, I want to take you out to our lemonade stand again, all right? You got our lemonade stand. And let's say that you are in, I don't know, Lampasas, Texas, right? Funny, that happens to be where I am, right? So I'm looking out my window on the streets of Lampasas, and there aren't a lot of people driving by, right? Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm so glad you liked the information. So the chances of me selling lemonade on the streets of Lampasas, not so great, because I don't have a lot of people walking past my lemonade stand, right? So let's take my lemonade stand and let's move it to Manhattan, right? Let's put it on the corner of something and something in Manhattan. Well, now I'm going to have thousands of people, hopefully. COVID, I'm thinking of a post-COVID, pre-COVID world. When I have more people walk past my lemonade stand, my lemonade might suck, but I'm going to sell more lemonade. So it's a ratio. It's a ratio of the number of people who walk by compared to the number of people who actually buy. So that's a person who's converting from a passerby to a paying customer, right? So we call that a conversion ratio. That ratio gets better with the more people you have walking past your lemonade stand. So when you look at the systems that you can create to create traffic, there are a couple of ways to do that. One is SEO. That's the way to get your website in front of Google so that everybody sees it, right? The more people that see your website, so you're going to get yourself in Psychology Today, you're going to get your website designed by a professional, you're pushing out blogs, you're pushing out content. Go back to our videos and see more about content. Go to my YouTube channel, Kate Walker Training Counseling at, I don't think it's at YouTube, but anyway, if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see some videos about how content will get you up in the rankings. Also, you got to get out and talk to people. One of the questions that I had was I'm in rural Texas, this, town particular, I don't recall. I'm in rural Texas. How do I get my name out there? I'm already in Psychology Today. Well, folks, if you're in a small town, you need to meet people, right? I've been in Lampasas, Texas for 4 months. And since, we are able to get out and about, it's great because I meet people, people meet me. And once they meet you, then they'll trust you if you have good information. So you're not the town therapist, you're not the town shrink, you're the town resource. You want to become a resource for the folks around you. We call that your circle of influence. So the more that you can get out there, see people, talk to people. I always tell folks one of the greatest keys that you can do for your private practice is to talk to anybody that will have you. Don't charge them. Get out there, talk to them, and then when you're sitting with this group of people and speaking and talking about your expertise, you're going to be able to tell them how to get in touch with you, and how to tell their friends about you, right? So 2 things: how to get in touch with you, how to tell your friends about you. So that takes us back to our private practice, which is you've got to have an efficient way for your folks to contact you, and it ain't voicemail. If you rely on voicemail and texting and email now, you will never get off of it, right? It's just, I mean, I got to admit, I did it back in the day, and I still have the occasional client that pops out and they're like, hey, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm at dinner. I don't want to talk to this person. Because I have excellent boundaries. So start now, new practice owners. Have a different way, a different conduit for your clients to come to you, right? And so when they're walking past your lemonade stand, they want to buy some lemonade, they pay you, they go on their way. Our model's a little bit different. How are they going to contact you? I am a fan of the 10-minute consultations. And so one thing you can do today, right? TUHDAY, is create a 10-minute consultation using your scheduling software. We have so many of my Thursday 30s about the 10-minute consultation. You can go to my YouTube channel and see videos. Go up here to more media and you can see videos. Click on the videos. They're not cataloged. Unfortunately, Facebook doesn't let us organize them very well. YouTube is better. We try to catalog those by topic. Find out how to do the 10-minute consultation. One thing you can do today: get a DBA, open up a business account. If you are just dreaming about a practice, that can take you leaps and bounds thinking about this thing as a reality. Number 2, get some software. Sukasa, Full Slate. Find a website provider that you love, okay? Buy your domain name. Go find the domain name for your dreams, and do not make it 26 letters long. Do a simple domain name. Something that resonates with you, but most importantly, resonates with your client. If you're in a small town, mitigate those dual relationships. Understand that it's up to you to make sure that the dual relationships don't get in the way, and then go do good work. Go do what you were put on this earth to do. Next week, I'm going to talk about cash, insurance payments, and telehealth, right? Because, I read a lot in my threads and folks talking about, well, should I do cash? Should I do insurance? How do I, what kind of a therapist should I be? What is my niche? What should I write? All the things. We're going to talk about money next week as it pertains to your business model. Now, I'm not going to get into your beliefs about money and why, it's not coming to you and all the things. I'm going to talk about how you're going to design your business, because these last 3 weeks of the 10-week practice challenge, actually 4 weeks, we did paperwork. Today is about private practice design, LLCs, DBAs, all the things. Week 9 is going to be about how to take payments in the best way that resonates with you. And then week 10, you're going to hear from 5 experts who are going to tell you how they do it and how they would tell you to do it if you worked with them. So if you aren't set up for success after these videos, dive into one of our mentors. In the announcements, click announcements, you will see a thread, and there are folks in this group willing to mentor you for free. And it's not like you can say, hey, I'd love a mentor. No, you're actually going to have to contact them. You're going to have to click on them, send them a private message, email them, reach out to them, and ask for help, right? That's the most important thing you can do for your business. So go get your DBA, go buy your domain name, go invite a friend to join this group, keep participating in the Badass Business Private Practice Challenge. Please, somebody out there, win the grant and do good work, right? Because your communities are going to count on you. You're too important to lose to things like not having the greatest systems, not knowing to do it with money, setting up your business wrong, having terrible systems, going out of business, going broke, and burning out, right? Hashtag counselors for life, hashtag counselors don't quit. This is Dr. Kate Walker. I will see you next week at our Thursday 30. See ya.